Hey, how's it going? We are continuing this series where we discussing different businesses. In this video, I'm going to be talking about BP or British Petroleum, one of the top performers, depending on the data and which data you're going to be looking at. I'm working my way from the top down, but depending on the year, when you're going to be watching this video, either way, so one of the best performing companies up there. I'm going to be discussing BP in more detail, or British Petroleum, and what they do. Let's take a look at BP, formerly known as British Petroleum. I personally believe they have a lot of know-how, a lot of resources, a lot of talented people and technology. This is what they have, not necessarily within the supply chain. What they call competence is perhaps petroleum is something that they do, not necessarily they have themselves a lot of resources. Perhaps they can extract, mine, whatever systems they might, or methods they might be using. So they have a lot of perhaps technology right there. So if you have resources, you might be interested in hiring some of those companies, right, to refine those resources. It depends on what kind of resources you might have access to. North Sea, perhaps. I'm not entirely sure about all the company's operations and some of the contracts up there, how they would structure that contract, but it seems that this company is doing very well. It's a top 10, definitely, within UK's industries, right? It's overall global energy company with a rich history and significant presence in the oil and gas industry. It is. Let's take a look in more detail. What was? Let's cover it with an introduction. Let's start with that. We will explore various facts as BP include its history, core values, financial performance, and market position, additional performance indicators, and let's cover everything in more detail. I guess so people might be interested of what they actually do. I think that is just a core competence, something that they have done, as well as they might be interested in perhaps more taking on more of the supply chain, or if they might be able to stick or diversify into different industries as well. It's something that I'm interested in finding out more, as well as that all the world is shifting away from fossil fuels, right? So, if anything, how those companies gonna get a hold and keep all the control, market share, and what they gonna do? I'm interested in that. Jump into history. BP historically dates back to early 20th century. It was founded in 1908 as the Anglo-Persian Oil Company and played a crucial role in securing British oil supplies during the World War One. Over the years, it expanded in operations and became with the British Petroleum Company in 1954. A significant milestone in BP's history include discover those mergers and acquisitions. BP acquired companies such as Amoco and Arco in the late 1990s, which significantly expanded its presence in the United States. Oil crisis. BP, like many other companies, oil companies, faced challenges during the oil crisis in the 1970s, which led to changes in energy policies and investments in alternative energy sources. Environmental concerns were Deepwater Horizon oil split in 2010 had profound impact on BP's image and led to increased focus on safety and environmental responsibilities. If anything, how much dominance some of those companies have within the Middle East, some of those governments and everything. I don't know. I don't know. The more I'm studying the history of it, I'm trying to put all picture together, as well as perhaps how some of the currencies with those governments might be backed by, not necessarily by, since everyone's shifting away from gold. So it, at one point, perhaps one point or another, was backed by perhaps oil, right? But all the details, no one's disclosing those, or perhaps I'm not having access to that information. But either way, so there's a lot of, since we're talking about a lot of billions, right? So interesting things those some of those companies, governments who are doing and perhaps still doing. Cover BP's core values and mission, and let's reflect on some of the important things as perhaps safety, responsibility of those companies. Safety, BP prioritizes safety of its employees and communities in operations. It has set strict safety standards and invest in safety measures, which is good. Sustainability, the company is dedicated to reduce its carbon footprint, transitioning to cleaner energy sources and supporting global shift to a lower carbon future, which is great. It's something that, if anything, so how much control those companies have right now, as well as perhaps what they're going to be doing in the near future. Innovation, BP values innovation and invest in research and development to find technological solutions to energy challenges. Financial data, BP's financial performance and key indicators and its overall standing in energy industry. As of late, perhaps the current time frame where you're looking, what kind of data you have access to, or that information not necessarily most accurate information and not necessarily I have access to all of the information, but either way, let's take a look at 2022 perhaps standing. Not necessarily current 2013 when the studio is made, but perhaps 2022, right? Revenue, BP's revenue in 2021 was approximately 180 billion. How many? I don't know. Can you buy a couple of governments for that? Can you buy a couple of politics? Lobby? Can you lobby some of the countries there? 180 billion. Interesting. Profit. Despite challenges, BP reported a profit of over 5 billion in 2021. So perhaps they're making a lot of investments. So something perhaps can be defined as some fluctuating capital, working capital. So they define profits of 5 billion. So entire profits, but they have a lot of costs, running costs, and all the other things, right? Either way, assets, the company total assets value at over 300 billion. So this is what they're operating with. Interesting, interesting. So based on those statistics, even though those numbers not be the most accurate ones, perhaps they have a lot of inventory, right? From my professional observations, right? Perhaps too much inventory that they have right now. In particular, if those markets are shifting. So if anything, perhaps selling more of those platforms to space agencies since they have so much assets. Quick disclaimer, right? It's important to note that financial performance can vary year by year, influenced by oil prices, global economic conditions, and operational factors. BP ability to adapt to those factors is a testament of its resilience overall. So all the numbers, what I'm discussing, everything, it could be either way, depending on what kind of statistics you're gonna be looking at, who gonna be providing those statistics, either way, either way. So those numbers can be off slightly. Do not make any decisions based on the numbers or figures that I'm sharing here. Market share and position. BP market share is in overall energy sector, perhaps not necessarily limited to that, but that's its as an organization's core competence, especially in the oil and gas industry. It's notable. It's compared to other major energy companies like ExxonMobil and Shell. It market share presence in global with operations in various regions. The company has strategically positioned itself in emerging markets and invested in diverse energy sources. So if anything, I would like to understand a little bit more in that, what and how they're looking to perhaps prevent what is risk management for those companies. If there's going to be new markets popping up, how they're looking positions themselves within those markets. If anything, is great if they not necessarily slow down other people. Well, if anything, some of those business can slow other people down for whatever reasons, whatever we feel like it. If they're not positioning themselves well enough, I hope that some people up there do not slow other people down. That's why I like this factor. For instance, it has been actively exploring opportunities in renewable energy, which demonstrates uh, which demonstrates its adaptability or commitment to staying competitive in changing energy landscape, which is great. More investment, more opportunities, and perhaps driving prices down, which would be great think if all the businesses would do that, especially if they have so much control to current markets, energy demand for a lot of people. With current prices, what I'm paying right now, for, and all the people are paying within the UK, one of the largest prices that households are paying in the world, perhaps something to be said there. I don't know why, I don't know who's making policies, but and why people are paying so much for energy. Let's take a look at some of the additional performance indicators. That would be production volume. BP measures its production of oil and gas, which is critical for understanding its operational efficiency and effectiveness and profitability. So, so if they have too much supply, they need to reduce extraction, right? And they just need to sit on those reserves. Some of the countries is what they're doing right now, especially if value of the currencies of those countries out there is going down. The more some of the countries, organizations might be interested in perhaps holding on to commodities that they have access to instead of looking to receive the same amount of money for those commodities, which value of those currencies went down by a lot, right? Instead of those governments exchanging paper for oil or metal or whatever might be the case, some of those governments might be not interested in paper, right? They might be interested in other things instead of paper. So it depends. It's a lot of people, right? So it depends. We're not discussing any particular instance, but either way, safety records. The company closely monitors safety incidents and has set a goal of achieving zero accidents, which is great. Environmental metrics. BP tracks its environmental impact and it dedicated to reduce greenhouse gases emissions. Or perhaps it's good that they have this metric and they're tracking that and working towards improving some of those conditions. It might be very expensive, costly, and so good that some of those countries, organizations taking action in this direction. Let's take a look at some of the interesting facts about the company. Perhaps three examples that might be enough. Deepwater Horizon response. Following the Deepwater Horizon oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico, BP committed over 65 billion to clean up and compensate affected parties, which is great. 65 billion is a lot of money. I don't know. It's a lot of money. I don't know all the details why that happened, but the company is doing something about it. Beyond Petroleum. BP Beyond Petroleum Companies was launched in the early 2000s, emphasizing the commitment to clean energy sources, including wind and solar power, which is great that they're doing something. I would like to understand more about some of those actions and some of those people up there, how they're looking to manage market shifts. Light Source BP has made investments in renewable energy, partnering with Light Source BP to develop solar projects in various countries, which is great. So they can diversify themselves by having more control of different supply chains, right? So perhaps how they can capture some of the light energy and perhaps use that energy to power up the houses and vehicles, which is great that they're making some changes there. People out there who would like to learn more, I have published a book, Game Strategy. In this book, I'm sharing a lot of information with the people who would like to learn more. Uh, if you are struggling, looking to find the area where to begin, where to start, perhaps where you are in the cycle, if anything, many people would begin with doing research, right? So perhaps that's where you are within the cycle. From there, if you might be interested, you believe that you know enough, perhaps from there progress into taking action, starting your own business. From there, once you have access to extra capital, you can diversify and invest in different projects. Whichever area you might find yourself in, there's a lot of information in this book that would greatly benefit here. You can find this book in the description below, as well as Top Retailers has this book. Just to summarize today's video, we're covering the company British Petroleum. We covered most of the details, which I personally believe are very important to know about British Petroleum, as well as if they have access to know-how, a lot of skills, and how some of those companies currently have a lot of resources. So whatever more of that might be, right? How many staff? 5,000 people, 10,000 people? How are we looking to take the staff, perhaps those people, and move them from one area into another? And how this shift gonna take action, right? I don't know. Even that, a lot of people know what they're doing currently. They need to shift into different way of thinking and progressing into different areas. If that's the case, perhaps British Petroleum owns a lot of those fields where they're extracting as well, so some of those assets can be classified as that. Interesting, it's something that I'm interested in, and I'll be following the history of some of those companies and how they are performing. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.